Hello everybody, welcome back to part 5 on our tutorial series for the game Geometry Dash. So last week you should have ended off with a simple level in which you can play the scene and there should be a floor along with platforms and spikes which once you hit you should die, like that. So we're going to add color to the whole game. So first, going to the floor, so the floor tile map. Scroll all the way down, there is a canvas item. Open up the material property and click new shader material. Now opening up the shader material, scroll down, you see a shader, it should say empty, click new shader, and now click into the shader. Now a text box should pop up. So the shader type is canvas item. And in this language here for the shaders, you have to include semicolons after every line. And the shader is basically something that can edit the vertices or pixels on the screen. So now we define a pass-in, so we can pass in stuff to the shader as a uniform. And it's going to be a vector 3 to represent color, like that. So now we're taking in a variable called color that's of type vector 3. Now creating a function, we need to use void to specify returns nothing. Fragment takes no parameters. We also have to use curly braces in this language. So it's very similar to Java, if you've ever coded Java. So now we create a vector 4 called C, which represents the color of this pixel. We get this by using the texture function on the texture given our UV. So the texture is basically the image. So each tile, it's this image, and the UV is the position of the pixel on the image. And now, since the image is basically just black and white, we just want to scale it. So if it's white, it should be brighter, and if it's black, it should be darker. So now you can just do color. So the output color, RGB, equals the current color, so one of the values, and you multiply this by the passing color, like that. So if you save it, it should go black because currently color is set to 0. So we can change that by going to the floor node, and here in the shader, there should be a shader param. So it's in material. If you open up material, you click on the shader material, there should be a shader param. And here we can set the color to something, so it's from 0 to 1, not 0 to 225. So this gives a bluish color if you want to copy the exact color, which are these values, but as you can see, it's lighter at the top and darker at the bottom, which is exactly what we want, and we can switch this color to whatever we want. So we want to make it more reddish, we can do like 0.5 to make it pink, like that. It's also probably a good time to go to your debug and turn off visible collision shapes, as now it's not really needed, which it'll just make the game look a bit better. So turn off visible collision shapes. We can also change this in the code, which means we can make the background change as the game plays. So now if you look at all the tiles, you can see they're actually transparent. So what we want to do for the tiles is we won't change the actual tile color, we'll just change the background color. So to do this, we need to first add a background. So first create a parallax background node. So parallax is basically the background moves slower or faster than you in the game. So now in this parallax background, you need to add a parallax layer. And in this parallax layer, you add a sprite. So parallax layer is basically just holds any sprites. So now in the sprite, you can open up the assets in Geometry Dash backgrounds. Just choose one of the HD backgrounds to use. Doesn't really matter which one. So now, if you open up the sprite, turn offset center to off, and now just increase the Y by 60 until it matches. So negative 60. This one should be not negative 60. So first do negative 484, and now if you need to go down more, you can add 60, like that. Or you can just minus 60 till it aligns with your floor. So make sure it aligns perfectly with your floor. And now going to parallax layer, once this is all in lines, going to the parallax layer, open up motion. Now here there's a bunch of settings you can adjust. First, change mirror to 1024. So basically this is 1024 by 1024 pixels. So mirroring just makes sure that every 1024 pixels it puts a new image like this, so it goes on forever. Now in scale, you can change it to 0.1, which means it'll move at 10% the speed of the player or the camera. So if you play this and see, you can see the background slowly moving backwards, and that we can actually see the background through the floor and stuff. Now you can see the floor is all purple. So now doing the same thing for this parallax layer, go to the sprite, not the parallax, so go to the sprite, and now going to canvas item, material, make a new shader material. Now click new shader. And this shader will be the same as the last shader, so we can just go back to our first shader in the floor tile map. Opening up the shader, we can copy this code. We're going to floor tile map, copy the shader code, and now go to the sprite shader that we just made and paste the same code. So now if we save this, it should turn black again. But now we can change the parameter, shader parameters here. So like that gives it a blue color. Now if we play the game, you can see the floor is pink and the background blue, and we can see blue through the tiles a bit. So this is looking pretty good, except now we should add some glow to the white so that all the white pops out more on all the edges of the blocks. So to do this, we need first we need to create a shader, and this shader will use the white PNG, which I not provide. So first, going to Google, search up white PNG, and download one of these PNGs. So you can just go to images, and make sure it's not transparent. So just download. Don't get anything with the borders, like this would work. Just white. And you can save this image like that. And now going back to the Godot web, if you open up the image, you can just drag this in. Drag it in to the file editor in the game, in the engine. So like that. And now if you scroll down, you should find it somewhere. Or you can just search it. So white, solid white.png, like that. And now, once we have this image, you should be able to double click, see it's actually white. And once this works, going back to the game scene, add a texture rect to the camera. So not on the main node, so going onto the camera node, right here, add a texture rect. So this will basically just hold an image, which we can apply shader to. So now if you look in, it should be right there. And now if you drag in the white image to this, so now you should have a white square or something in the left rectangle. Now turn on expand, which means when we drag out this white image, it expands to the size. So turn on expand. Now if we drag this out, you should be able to see that it covers whatever we drag. So there's this purple bluish line here that represents the camera size. So just taking the texture rect, drag it out so that's at least bigger than that. So a bit over is fine, like that. So the line's right here, and we're dragging it much more. Now once you've dragged it out all the way, ensure that your camera node is the last node in your whole scene. that. So now the camera node is the last node in the whole scene. So it's the top node relative to the camera, it gets rendered the last. So its shader gets applied at the end. So now going into material, make a new shader material again. And now clicking into this material, we can make a new shader like last time. So same as last time, the shader type will be canvas item. So I'm making the fragment shader, which runs on every pixel. We get the pixel color as, so we use the texture function to get the actual color of each pixel, and the texture will be screen texture since this runs on the whole screen. And then will be screen UV for the location of this pixel. So what we want to do to make sure it glows is that we want to make every white even brighter. So we can do that by white RGB of 1, 1, 1. We can make it 2, 2, and 2. So we just do an if statement here saying if the pixel color RGB value equals the vec3 1, then we set the pixel color RGB value to be 2 and 3 2s like that. So now if the pixel color is 1, 1, 1, we set to 2, 2, 2. Now just set the color of the actual pixel to this pixel color we just made, like that. I made it on the wrong thing, that's why. Okay. So make sure this is on the texture rec, so I'll just copy this code. So it's not on the camera. So make sure the shader's on the texture rec node, not on the camera 2D. The new shader material, a new shader. Now it should turn clear again. Now place some platforms within the pink square so you can see the glow. But as you can see, there's no glow for now. So make sure you have all the shader code. Once you have all this code in the texture rect, it should turn clear, and there should be no white image anymore. Once this is done, we can create a new world environment. So going back to the game node, add a new node and call it world environment. So this world environment node just makes a new environment for the world where we can adjust things such as glow. So in this world environment, create a new environment. Now clicking into this environment, you should see background, open up background and change the mode to canvas. You have to make sure to change the mode of the background to canvas. Once you have canvas, you can go down until you find glow right here. And now enable the glow. Now you can see that it's actually glowing a bit. So we want first do is go to HDR threshold and change this to 2. This is very important. So once you change the HDR threshold to 2, you can just adjust any of the parameters other than this to make it look something what you want. So from these values, it makes it barely glow, which is basically what you want. You just want to glow a little bit like this. So all the white here glows, but as you can see, this white here doesn't glow. And that's because the texture rect doesn't reach it. However, if I did want to make it reach, it would go like this. All that would start glowing. But obviously, we don't need to make the texture rect super big because the camera moves along with the player. So as the player moves, everything around it will glow. So if you play the game, you'll see that there's glow on all the blocks, like that. So now that we have glow and all the color, next week we'll add changing of colors to the scenes and we'll add some music in the actual gameplay loop of dying and respawning again, and we'll also add some particles. So make sure you stay tuned for next week's video.